Greetings, I am Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator, starting up a new video series calling Player Nexus, discussing rules and strategies for various tabletop games. If you're a fan of the game, feel free to talk about it in the comments. We all have the games that we like to play, and we have ideas for how to play and all that. And I think having more discussions about that would be fun. Today we're going to go over Weiss Schwarz, a collectible card game of sorts. For this one, I've got my collection of hololive cards. I've got my trial 4th edition or 4th generation deck. I have the combination of 5th gen and part of 3rd for this one. And then I have a very experimental deck. I'll explain just how experimental it is in a minute. But let's go over the game itself. So the goal is to use your characters to attack your opponents, which puts cards into their clock, which eventually builds up to give them a level, which means they can summon more powerful characters. But eventually they hit level 4 and they're done. That's how you beat them. Alright. So the actual components themselves, we have character cards. We have make sure I'm trying to work on my camera awareness. It's hard sometimes. At the bottom we have the card name in both Japanese and in English. The level is on the upper left in black. This is level 2. And the gray number beneath it is the cost. So in order to play cards, you have to have cards in your stock. Your stock is over here on the furthest to the left. In order to get cards into your stock in the first place, what you have to do is attack. So you have to use your lower level peeps to start attacking your opponents as soon as possible. You're limited to 1 attack on the first turn. But every time you attack, you'll flip over a card, add whatever trigger symbol is in the upper right to your soul points, and then the card goes to your stock. The stock cannot be messed with in terms of reordering or looking at whatever's there. And whenever you pay cost, you pull up from the top down. But that's how you build that up. And then there will be like little text abilities. Some will be continuous or automatic. Some will say act, which will do on your main phase. Some cards might feature a little fist underneath their cost. That's the counterattack icon. It can be used when your character is frontal attacked. Others have a clock icon in the upper left. That ability is used when it's in your clock, usually when it's at the top. If it gets buried, oh well. Oh, and let's see here. The number is power. They're always altered, of course. Soul points are like right next to it, and it's like really, really tiny. My camera zoom is being a butt. But she has 1 soul point. Upper level characters will have like 2. Traits. So like for Watame, we've got hololive and 4th gen. Which are like bottom right of the card. And then color. The color of the card, putting a lot of the cards at the same color will help you progress the game smoothly. If you're feeling bold, going with like multiple colors, if you can make it work, will work. If you try to make a pure third edition or third generation, you'll definitely be hitting all 4 colors for sure. Let's see, but I think Bruce is like the one who has a lot of color doesn't matter special thing. Anyway, yellow, speed. Green is power. Red is technique. And blue is advantage. If I have one thing to gripe about for the game, it's not always easy to tell the colors apart. In fact, it's like downright impossible if you are not good at seeing colors, I think. I don't see some kind of distinguishing, like, this is clearly a red card and this is clearly a blue card. But hopefully it's something that gets considered in the future. I know a lot of games are starting to realize that, hey, there's, you know, people who are, you know, colorblind and all that, and have the consideration to add some kind of feature to address that, like with Citadels. They little gems for like colors, and now they're like they've got the symbol, and that is the color as well. Splendor does a similar thing with having the matching gem right next to it. But anyway, so the actual playing area itself, your deck goes to your to the midpoint of your far right. There's a spot for memory. Just face up and sideways for stuff that's been removed from play. And then there's your waiting room for stuff that's face up and straight up. When you have no deck to draw from, I believe you'll refresh your deck from your waiting room, and then take the topmost card of your deck, put it into your clock. So the game is going to end eventually, because I believe there's nothing stopping characters from attacking the moment they come into the game. It's like you play them during your main phase, and as long as they're just like straight up, standing up, they can attack. There's no summoning sickness like magic, thankfully. But anyway, your level is going to be right next to your stock, but it'll be on your left. Again, when a 4th card would be placed there, you lose. Clock, when a 7th card would be placed there, what you'll do is you'll select one of them to put into your level. If you're put into a position of having like more than 7, then you'll just choose from the bottommost 7. One of them will go into your level. Managing your the colors that you have in both your clock and your level is important, because that's part of how you'll play the higher level stuff. We'll get into that. But anyway, clock, stock. Again, this is your source of paying cards for levels and other effects, and you have to get that by attacking. Climax area, you can only put one card here and only during the climax phase. Pretty much the moment you've placed a card here, you've effectively announced that you're done with your main phase, which means it's too late to go back and do anything. Stage positions. There's the stage. Center stage, which is how you actually fight. Backstage, where you can't fight, but you might be able to do other stuff. And you can always arrange stuff later. So if you don't need them to attack right now, but you're going to want them to attack later, that might be something. So, actually deck building is part of the setup of the game. If you have a trial deck, it's already built for you, so you don't have to think too hard. But when building your own deck, you are limited to 4 copies of a given card. I think I stopped at like 2 for some of these. And then you are limited to a maximum of 8 climax cards. Fun fact, there is no rule in the game's deck building that says you have to use climax cards. They are completely optional. Not using them is crazy, but it is an option. Now, I'm going to explain why not using them is crazy during the attack phase. But anyway, so at the start of the game, you'll have your deck, you'll shuffle your cards. Oh, did I explain? Oh yeah, I think I forgot to explain events. Some cards just do stuff. Pay the cost. It has to be the level, the color, and all that. And that stuff. Those will go back later. So, at the start of the game, everybody will shuffle their deck. Offer their opponent's cut. And draw 5. You will have an opportunity to discard any number of cards to your waiting room to draw that many more, but you only get that one opportunity. Hold on to some high level stuff here. Probably don't want to be doing that early. So let's drop 2 and draw 2 more. You only get that one shot though. And I put a little spot in my playmat for putting your hand down for a minute, so you know exactly where it is and it doesn't get mixed up with anything else. The player will do the same. Level 0 stuff. I don't think I shuffled this deck very well. We'll see. Anyway, we're going to determine which side has the first turn. It'll be the player who has who's going first that gets to do the mulligan first. So randomly deciding player goes first. There's usually like this game has suggested like rock paper scissors. My temptation is like cut your own deck, and if whatever character level is higher goes first, climax is considered a -1, and that card is considered -1. So like in this instance, should you go first? But that's just my idea. There's really any kind of random method might just work. But anyway, so the actual game, so players will have their starting hands and we'll go to the game proper. So stand phase, if you had any characters that are currently sideways, then it's rest, it'll stand. The other position in the game is reverse, which only happens during battle. don't let that happen. Draw phase, you'll draw one card from your deck. Put it in your hand. This applies from the very first turn, which is an interesting deviation from Magic. Clock phase, put one card from your hand into your clock to draw 2 cards. This is one of the features of this game that I think is really freaking awesome. Yes, it puts you a little bit closer to the end, but if you seriously need it, then you have that option. Being behind on cards in any game really freaking sucks. For example, I know I featured it in my Ghost games, but I bought Root again. I will show you how being at a disadvantage on cards is going to suck in that game. But for now, so you'll put a card into your clock to draw 2, which you know about. Main phase. So you have an event card, and you have the level and the cost for it. You can play that. If you have characters, you can play them. You can move characters between your stage positions. You just can't change their status. And then if the card has a activated ability of sorts, like I believe it'll say like act. Here we go. So rest this card. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put them back in any order. That's your power. So again, with playing characters and events, you have to be at or below, or at or above the level required, and the color of that card has to match. The exception is level 0. You can always play level 0 no matter what. So this card is placed on the stage from your hand. If you have 2 or more characters, you may draw 1 card. So if I put her out there, her ability's not going off because I don't have 2 others. So I probably want to hold on to her for a minute. This card is placed on the stage from your hand. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a hashtag 4th gen or hololive character, you can put it face down as a marker. So I play her. It is a hololive character, so it's face down as a marker. So presumably, if cards get markers and the card is lost somehow, the marker goes to the waiting room. That's my assumption. I can always look it up on official stuff later. And if there's a marker underneath this card, it gets plus 2,000 power. So I have her out as my 1 character for this turn. So let's say that's my main phase. Climax phase. So I will go ahead and use this one. When this card is placed on your climax area from your hand, choose up to 1 level 1 or lower character in your waiting room. And attack, and all your characters get +1 soul until end of turn. Unfortunately, I don't have any low level characters in my waiting room, so I probably don't want to do that. Just yet. So I have her. And going into the attack. So the attack phase starts with the declaration. If you're straight up facing another, let's say another character, then you have the option of the frontal attack, which will set off your, which will go off of power. There's also the side attack, where if you're fighting someone, you know, a little bit stronger, you have an option to do a side attack and still inflict a little bit of damage, but you have to overcome their soul to inflict anything. So I'd have to like top deck like a 2-soul climax card to do anything in this instance. Or there's just a direct attack. There's no one out there. And in doing a direct attack, it's soul points +1 already. But regardless of whatever you choose to do, you will trigger the top card of your deck, which will have something in the upper right corner. So I've got 1 soul already, I now have 2. It's a direct attack, so there's 3. So I have 3 soul. That card goes into the stock. I'll put your hand there, silly. And depending on how many soul points that many cards go from their deck to their clock. Now, so I mentioned climax cards earlier. If one of these was a climax card, the entire thing would have gone to their waiting room instead. But now that damage has been done. But let's go back to a theoretical point and say fighting a frontal attack against her character. So I already did let's say I already did the trigger thing. So 2 soul points. Regardless of whatever attack you make, you'll do damage. We'll do that soul point damage. So at this point it'll be 2. So just put the 2 in there. The thing with side attacks is they're kind of, it seems like side attacks are strange to use in a way. I'm trying to understand the tactical approach to it. Because mainly, if you're doing the side attack, it's because I see. It's because you have a stronger character and you don't want them to be locked in with having all the characters that they got out there. I think this is kind of an interesting idea. But anyway, we'll still do that. Even as part of permanent attack. Technically has higher power from her bonus. So the lower power gets reversed. And then if there are more battles, you finish them. So when all the battles are done, anything that's reversed is sent to the waiting room. If you have 3 stock, you can discard the stock and save your reversed character. And they will remain in position and at rest. But she got broken from that. But after all the attack stuff's done, in phase, if you had a climax card, it's gone away. Oh yeah, that's why you also do a side attack, is you have a climax card boosting your soul points. Okay. But anyway, after the climax card is done and all the end of turn effects are are taken care of, your opponent gets to take their turn. And it'll be back and forth until someone's defeated. This is an interesting game. We have the accelerated card draw feature. We have your ability to play higher level stuff depends on actually attacking your opponents and doing stuff that way. Attacking your opponents early to build up stock, so you've got the fuel for the higher level characters when you end up in that higher level. And then you have to have the the colors in your clock or level to play them. And I think the big draw of this game is I can play with the people I like from hololive. It's like all these anime and video game series and such that they have for Weiss Schwarz, and the fact that they have all of that is just freaking cool. But definitely demo this game at some point with actual people. At some point, I'd like to go back to the game store and play and have fun and all that. I've been kind of distancing myself from there for focusing on my projects and everything. But I think I want to go back someday and see if I can get people who are into this game. The thing with our game communities is they're mostly congregating on Facebook, and I have a massive aversion to Facebook. No, just no. So I need to figure out how to build a community without having to use Facebook. Anyway, oh yeah, I mentioned it. So I mentioned before about the importance of having climax cards as kind of a defensive measure against attack. I have this deck, which is no climax cards. There's no climax cards because I do not have a whole lot to work with. But this deck in particular is special, and I wanted to build it anyway. Because you know who's in this deck. That's right, Ocfams. But I like making experimental decks whenever there's an opportunity to do things out of the ordinary, because that's how I have fun with this game. It's how I have fun with games in general. And yeah, I just want to find people to play with, and I'm gonna have to start soon. The popular games they're going to be popular for a long time. It's going to be really hard to unseat them, but this is my personal favorite right now. I want to fight for it. I want to get people playing. I want to play it lots, and I want my local game store to get this stuff in, instead of me having to order it on Amazon and all that stuff, because the game store needs to be supported. We need to focus on having a local place where people can gather and play, and can't keep doing that if we're all ordering stuff online. Yeah. It's part of why they end up charging for tournaments and table space and all that stuff. But having a game store is worth it. It's worth it because it doesn't matter where you're from. If or who you are, show up at the game store and you want to play something, there's usually somebody to play with and have fun, learn a brand new game, maybe fall in love with it, and have a great time. So this is Player Nexus Episode 1. Weiss Schwarz, hololive. and I hope you liked it. See you at the next video, which will probably end up being Root, because I will really want to talk strategies for that one. Alrighty, see you next time. Bye.